That was a legitimately fun weekend of baseball, folks. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. The Boston Red Sox found a way to get it done in the Bronx this weekend, taking 2 out of 3 games from the New York Yankees, the first place New York Yankees at that. Now, it doesn't really do much in terms of the Red Sox standings, right? They're still a distant ways away from first place in this division and 4 games out of a playoff spot in general. But what it did for this fan base morale-wise is also super important. I think for the team itself, morale-wise was super important. So we're going to break down the key takeaways from this series, starting with, in my opinion, the most important part of this weekend for the Boston Red Sox, which was their offense. And speaking of offense, in their last 4 games, the Boston Red Sox combined have scored a total of 38 runs. That is averaging 9.5 runs a game. That's a ton of damage being put out there. And I think at the front of this offense right now, maybe Abraham Toro of all people. He had 7 hits in this series, 3 doubles, a home run, and 3 RBIs. He's currently on a 4-game hitting streak where he has at least 2 hits in every single one of those 4 games. He hasn't struck out in 5 games. He is an incredible feel-good story for the Red Sox at the moment, and genuinely, I think their second best hitter right now. I love me some Abraham Toro, and that is something coming into the season I never thought I was going to say, but you're getting that sort of right-handed, left-handed production from this guy. He's hitting absolute moon bombs against the New York Yankees. He's coming up in big situations and delivering for this Red Sox team. There's nothing really to complain about with Toro right now, outside of the fact that he has to be your second best hitter with all the injuries and stuff you've gone through. But your best hitter, because it's Yankee Stadium, also decided to put on a show. I mean, Rafael Devers, this dude just absolutely loves hitting against the New York Yankees. He had 2 home runs and a double in this series. It's just a law of nature, right? I guess it's just simply how things go. Your best Red Sox hitter is going to crush the New York Yankees every single time, and I just absolutely love that fact. There was a little bit of controversy here in the middle of this series where in the finale, Rafael Devers didn't truly run out a baseball. He probably should have, right? If he had run that out, maybe the inning continues and something else big happens. The original thought was that it was just due to lack of hustle, that Rafael Devers just said, I'm going to get out anyways. I'm not going to run through that base. Alex Cora kind of said the exact opposite after the game. In fact, he completely denied that Rafael Devers wasn't hustling, and that insinuated that something was going on with him health-wise, which is kind of the worst case scenario, right? If Rafael Devers ends up on the IL, the season's over. It's just as simple as that. I mean, not that the season really is going anywhere right now anyways, but Rafael Devers heads on the IL. Yeah, you kind of kiss this season goodbye pretty completely. However, I don't think we're there yet, right? I think he's just sort of nursing something, trying to get back to 100% health. I don't think it was because of a lack of hustle down the first baseline. Clearly, something's up with him. We'll sort of see how this develops. Him being a DH, though, I think is going to help save him from really any of these major injuries right now. He's got the opportunity to really sort of nurse this thing. And at the same time, you don't really need to hustle to first base if you're hitting baseballs 110 miles an hour, 400 feet out of the stadium, right? You kind of take your time getting around those bases. So as long as he keeps hitting, I'm not really going to worry about it. But it wasn't just those 2 guys. The Red Sox offense in general really showed up in this series. And specifically what I really loved about this series for the Boston Red Sox is that guys who previously were struggling really heavily in this season came in big throughout the series as well. Christian Campbell is a prime example of that. He had 4 hits in this series, his first Yankee Stadium home run, which was awesome because it was a Yankee Stadium special, right? It was one of those baseballs that only gets out in Yankee Stadium, and I guess now the Rays Stadium, considering it's an exact replica, but it was a ton of fun to see him take advantage of the Yankees short porch. And I will say, it's really early in June, but the hope is that he's kind of finally turned a corner on that miserable, terrible slump he went through in May, because in the 7 games he's hitting .286 with a .400 on base percentage and a .746 slug. An extremely, extremely small sample size, and obviously he's got to prove that he could do this over a larger period of time, but this is sort of what's going to keep Christian Campbell in the big leagues, right? We know it's probably not the defense at this point in time until he could slow the game down, and we'll talk about his defense in a second, but if that bat could turn a corner, he becomes a really, really valuable piece to the Boston Red Sox. So hopefully that's exactly what we're seeing. And hopefully this Yankees series, at the bare minimum, regains some of his confidence. He can do this at the major league level. And speaking of confidence and doing it at the major league level, I did want to mention Marcelo Meyer in this video because he had some pretty big moments in this series as well. His first Yankee Stadium home run, his first Major League Stadium home run. Now, this wasn't a short porch special. This would have gotten out in any single ballpark. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm going to continue to say it until I can't anymore. Marcelo Meyer has the prettiest swing in baseball. It really is. It's gorgeous, right? It's just this perfect swing that when he makes contact with baseballs like that, it's almost majestic. I absolutely love watching him hit. And once he figures it out at the major league level, I don't know that there's going to be any stopping him. He did also have another big moment in this series as well. Bases juiced, he pinch hits, and he hits one up the middle and gets a couple of RBIs. It looks like he's starting to settle into Major League Baseball, and that's a very, very good sign for the Red Sox. Now they just need to figure out a way to get him into every single game because right now he's a platoon player, and I don't love that too much. But with Abraham Toro hitting the way he's hitting and Romy Gonzalez hitting the way he's hitting, I understand what the Red Sox are thinking there. And speaking of other slump busters, Trevor Story actually had a big series in this one. Well, he had a big last 2 games in this one, I should say specifically, because in the last 2 games, he had 5 hits, a double, a home run, and 6 RBIs. And I think this series was a great reminder overall of what this offense can actually be, right? Even without Bregman, there's still a ton of talent in this lineup. There's still a ton of potential for a whole lot of runs in this lineup, and we just hadn't been seeing it, right? Guys were going through slumps. Willier was going through a slump. Story was going through a slump. Campbell was going. You go down the lineup and talk about which guys are going through slumps because there was a ton of them. Once these guys figure out a way to break through, this is the kind of offense you can see. And again, I'm not making any big declarations because of this series. I'm done with my big declarations of the 2025 Red Sox, right? I'm not going to call this a turnaround point. I'm not going to call this a momentum starting point for the Red Sox because we've had that conversation too many times, but it is a gentle reminder here that the Red Sox are still fully capable of being a legitimate major league team. It's just going to take rookies like Christian Campbell and Marcelo Meyer really stepping up, role players who weren't supposed to be big parts of this team stepping into bigger roles like Abraham Toro, and obviously anchored by the biggest name in your lineup, which is Rafael Devers. And that's exactly what we saw in this series, so there's not really too much I can complain about with this offense right now. Unfortunately, despite the wins, Red Sox pitching and defense remained an issue for this team, right? As much as we highlight the offense, we absolutely have to talk about those two things as well. Starting with the rotation in this series, it wasn't exactly fantastic. In fact, Walker Buehler had an absolute stinker of a start, giving up 5 runs in the very first inning of the ballgame, 7 runs total in 2 innings of work. Just not a good start, point blank period. I will say, a couple of errors mixed in there for Walker Buehler that did not help his stat line at all, right? Only 5 of those runs ended up being earned runs because of those errors, right? It just continues to be the worst defense in Major League Baseball, and it continues to cost this team games, and we continue to see exactly what this team looks like when they play poor defense. And again, you go back to Christian Campbell, he had some rough moments defensively in this series. Balls that he should have gotten to, balls that he probably could have made plays on that he just didn't, right? You saw a lot of rookie stuff pop up in this series. Marcelo Meyer with a tough throw that really should have been picked by Toro, but because Toro doesn't have a ton of time over at first base, that ball didn't get made, right? It's just sort of these things that you are reminded of, hey, this wasn't what the Red Sox were supposed to look like coming into the season, that just keep popping up. Crochet had probably, I would say, maybe his worst statistical start in Red Sox uniform so far. It was 6 innings, 5 earned runs. I will say, though, if we're taking a look at outside of the stat line, I think the stat line and what he actually pitched like are 2 different stories, right? You're still able to rack up nine strikeouts, only walked 1 guy and gave up 6 hits. Again, you go back to the defense, right? You had an error, which was catcher's interference, but there were multiple plays in that game that should have been made by a competent defender that probably would have decreased Garrett Crochet's stat line. Still ended up getting the win, right? Still ended up looking pretty solid in terms of overall innings he was able to pitch, overall swing and miss he was able to generate, right? He was still able to do both of those things, but because he didn't have the great defense behind you, when you got into tricky situations, you got punished for it. And I think that's some part on Garrett Crochet for sure with not being able to make big outs, but also I think partially on the defense as well, something that continues to bite the Red Sox in the ass. Luckily, the offense was able to pick Crochet up, which is kind of the first time we've been able to say that this season. Hunter Dobbins probably had the best start of all three of these guys, and he kind of needed to, right? Before his start in Yankee Stadium, he made a quote that was basically, if the Yankees were the only team to offer me a contract in Major League Baseball, I'd retire. I'm never playing for those guys, which is hell yeah, but also, dude, you're a rookie pitching to a league average statistic right now. Let's hit the brakes a little bit here, and let's put out a good performance where we start talking trash on the New York Yankees. And he did do that, right? It wasn't a great performance. It was a pretty solid one, though, right? 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 hits, didn't strike anyone out, but didn't walk anyone either. There were 2 home runs allowed. The first one was Aaron Judge in the first inning. I don't know about you guys, but I sat there with the comments that Dobbins made and with the home run from Aaron Judge. I went, oh no, this is going to be a long game. But it wasn't, right? He settled in, he figured himself out, and he ended up getting some pretty big outs here. Probably could have gone deeper into the game, I think, in my opinion, right? Especially, I think he was at like 67, 70 pitches, whatever, when he was pulled after that 5th inning. I think it's the right move, honestly, at the end of the day, to not let him pitch super deep. He's not very good statistically once batters see him a third time through the order. So the Red Sox needed a win. They decided to pull him early and ended up working out, but definitely could have gone deeper into the game, I think, under normal circumstances. But I like the fact that he talked some trash and was able to bag it up, right? Jazz Chisholm Jr. tried to come back at him. Hey, free smoke at 7. We like when people talk trash, and then ended up going 0 for 3 with an error. Pretty good stuff from Hunter Dobbins in this series. In terms of the bullpen, it was kind of all over the place, right? There were some good moments. There were some bad moments. Wilson and Bernardino both had good and bad moments in this series. Robert Stock came up, really great guy, had a real rough moment in this series to the point where it was a blowout, but you needed Chapman to close the door, right? You had some moments here where you're like, man, like, can we just get through this inning cleanly, right? It felt like for a little bit, the Red Sox, they would score runs, they would get this thing close, they would tie a game up, and then the bullpen or the starting rotation wouldn't be able to get through an inning and keep the game close or keep the game tied. It happened a couple of times in this series as well, and I think a large part was due to that bullpen, but there were some good moments, right? Greg Weissert continues to be, in my opinion, the second best reliever the Red Sox have. He's now become, I think, your legitimate high leverage before the 9th inning guy. He should stay in that role. He's been fantastic. Aroldis Chapman came into his old stomping grounds and shut the door on the New York Yankees twice. He continues to look really, really great for this Red Sox team. I sit there and I don't know what to say about this bullpen, right? They've been really good, I think, consistently over the past couple of weeks. They weren't really good in this series. It's just sort of one of those things where it's going to be up and down, right? You're going to have series where the bullpen's lights out. You're going to have series where the bullpen isn't lights out, but at the end of the day, they were able to do their job enough where you were able to take 2 out of the 3 of these games. So I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and complain too much about the bullpen, but there were some rocky moments in here for sure. And I think overall, was this a perfect series for the Red Sox? Absolutely not, right? There were still a whole lot of issues that reared its ugly heads multiple times in this series. Pitching, defense, probably at the forefront of that, but it was a fun one. And I think it's okay to have some fun with this Red Sox team right now, right? They're in a bad spot. They continue to be in a bad spot because of what they've done over the past month, but you need this once in a while. You need a series that reminds you, hey, it's still a game. It's still fun. It's still a good time, right? We're still having and enjoying ourselves watching the Red Sox every once in a while. And I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely needed that, right? I needed a weekend where you could just sit there and you could say, I'm enjoying watching Red Sox baseball. When's the next game? We haven't had that feeling in a pretty long period of time. Even in the series wins or just the wins in general lately, it's been either extremely stressful or it's been what feels like pretty lucky winning these games, right? It didn't feel like luck in this series. It felt like the offense just beat down on a pitching staff that they should have beaten down on and absolutely did. So I'm going to take the wins where we can get the wins again. I'm not making any declarations on this team anymore, right? I'm not sitting here saying, oh, this could be the momentum shifter, because we've done that 1,000 times. I think at this point, in order to even have a remote conversation about any sort of momentum starting thing for the Red Sox, we're going to need to see prolonged success, right? You got the Rays coming up. You got the Yankees again. If you could come out of that with 2 series wins in a row and maybe, hey, you take a couple of games from the Yankees too and put yourself on a little bit of a series win win streak. I don't know if they're really capable of a legitimate win streak at this point, but a series win streak, then we can start talking about turning points. But until then, let's just have fun with the Red Sox actually beating down on the New York Yankees, because that's never a bad thing in my opinion. But that is just my opinion. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. What do you think of the series? What do you think of the performances? What stood out to you? And how do you think about the Red Sox taking 2 out of 3? Let me know all your thoughts down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.